wonderful. Yes. Yeah. Here's balance. So it's gonna work for. Are you will you be here for the whole time? Yes. Oh, wow, thanks. Yeah, and I'll come to my watch. You can like hit me with a brownie clock.
Yeah, if you want to look back, I can do the time.
Okay. Thank you. You guys know we have to practice that too, right? Being nervous. Like, oh, good, I have an opportunity to practice.
Hello, everybody. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome Astrid Schween, who is here this week. We've been rehearsing. And it's so wonderful to have her here. It's been an amazing week so far, and we're looking forward to a wonderful class. So maybe I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and say what you're playing first.
Hello, I'm Andrew Troy. I'm from Bay Area, California, and I just finished my undergrad at the University of Michigan. We're going to be playing Prokofiev's Second Quartet.
I'm Anna Hildebrand. I'm from Western Maryland, and I'm starting at Vanderbilt University in the fall.
My name is Stacy Chung. I grew up in Korea and California. I just graduated undergrad in Juilliard, and I'll be going up to my master's, and I study with classroom.
My name is David. I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm currently a rising junior at the Cleveland Institute of Music.
Wonderful. Great. You guys have the whole first movement of the Prokofiev? Okay. So I think they've had this for almost 2 days. This is going to be fun. Sitting here in the middle of the auditorium, it's just so nice. The blend, the balance, the energy that you guys are investing, it's really, really, really promising. I wanted to ask you, what's weird about this piece? Or is there anything weird about the piece? I think it's a little weird. What do you think?
There are very extreme dynamic contrasts.
Uh-huh.
But when there are forte, it's like it feels like you just go forte, forte the whole
Forte,
time.
there's a lot of forte, isn't there?
It's very physical.
It's very physical. It's also, you know, in a hot, humid summer environment, practicing every day, playing something like this, you have to be a little thoughtful about how you do it, right? Do you find, this is kind of maybe a simplistic question, but when the music is soft, when you're asked to play piano or pianissimo, do you feel easier in this piece than the fortes, or does the forte serve another purpose? Like, does it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what do you find more attractive in this music? The softer playing or the big playing?
I think the piano and the softer places make it more effective
Uh-huh.
because it's such a powerful piece overall
Uh-huh.
when you first listen to it.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah. Nice, nice. Are
I
there
think like
ideas?
the fortes are. I think it matches like what's written, so like the fortes are like easier to play. I think making. I sort of think of like the dynamics in this movement, especially as the more like textural rather than. I mean, obviously they are about also by volume, but I think like in order to make them also effective in like a quieter dynamic, it's more of like a textural difference, which I think is harder to play.
Yeah, I like the way you guys are looking at this. It's not just about loud and soft. It's like, why? Why are these markings there, and in what ways might we enhance their presence so that they bring out more of the meaning of the music? So, have you guys? I'm just curious. With 2 days practice, and I hate to keep stressing that, but I am really impressed at how you've embraced this. Did you read about the piece at all? Have you? Yeah. What did you find out? Can you tell us?
Well, I found out that it's based on folk melodies.
Yeah, that's helpful, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And what else did you find out?
Well, he wrote it while kind of leaving the big cities.
Uh-huh.
He was in a smaller area.
Uh-huh. This is during World War II, right? And yeah, there was a Nazi invasion, and the intellectuals and artists were taken away, a lot of them, for safekeeping and for very specific kinds of production, right? So yeah, I find the fact that it's based on folk music really, in a way, very freeing, because, well, first of all, folk music is often just full of songfulness and dance, right? There's just this sort of freedom, and it's kind of meant for the people. It's meant to be accessible. I don't know if I were an audience member who didn't know much about Prokofiev, if I would find this music so accessible. I might find parts of it really interesting, but wow, it's strident. There's clash, there's dissonance, right? It's not all cupcakes. So, one thing that I think Prokofiev was doing, as a composer, taking folk music, his job, I think one of his jobs, is to make the music develop, right? That's one of the hallmarks of classical music. Our music, we get these little ideas. Beethoven's a perfect guy to use as an example. We might get bum 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 or da 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 dum, and then that has to be transformed over the course of a piece in many different ways. Prokofiev is doing that with much different kind of material. So, did you read about the 3 themes? Maybe not yet. Okay. Getting there. Yeah. Well, learning a piece and getting to the stage where you really feel super confident with it it's a layered process. There are stages. So maybe that's the next stage. Like, when we can even begin it now. If you were to find 3 themes, I think it would be helpful for all of our listeners and you to understand, like, what are those? They're almost like characters in a play. So what's the first theme?
The opening.
Yeah. Can you just play that for us? That we just hear the. Yeah. I love how you play that. You play it with real swagger. It's excellent. It's great. Okay, and then if we had a second theme that we're supposed to understand here, what might that be? Which one?
Oh yeah.
I think so. I'll tell you what, I call that theme a little bit later. I have a silly word for it, but yes. And then what about the third theme? Yeah, right. Now, this might seem like, okay, I'm asking you a little 20 questions here and you've come up with the right answers. But what's really important, if we think again about how these are going to be developed and how Prokofiev does stuff to them to create a multi-layered piece, then it's like, wow, we really need to know these themes and we need to make sure that the audience recognizes them in all their guises.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's try something. Can we play one more time, just the opening theme with everybody? So we can go from the beginning to number 1. How about that? Steve. Great, okay, so we hear that. Let's skip to the development for a second. Okay, you guys sort of mapped out where that is? Okay. Can we start that? Can you recall that tempo? Okay, yeah, okay, so you went to the second theme. I'm thinking of the middle section. Yeah. Right, number 7, after the false ending. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure you've already figured out what this is, but for us, your commitment to how you play this in a way that it's recognizably here. This is the first thing, right? Super important, especially since you were talking about texture. The texture is really different here. The atmosphere is different, sonority is different, harmony is different. It's kind of a very creepy thing he's doing, I think. And I think, I don't know everybody's name. I'm sorry, what's your first name? Anna. Anna, you get that first theme, that little motif of the first theme in the 3rd bar of 7. Right? You have an A, which you take beautifully from the cello, and then all of a sudden you're thematic. So I wonder if moments like that could pop a little bit more, so that again we're in on the story, what's happening to these characters. Can we just try that right on number 7? An interpretation, it's really helpful to just kind of know these materials, right? And I would challenge you a little bit to say, well, what happened to the swagger? Just because it's soft, does that mean that it now, has a completely different character? Or could it still have some of its panache, right? But like that had a really recognizable gait to it. Can we try that? Can we try a panache version? Yeah. Wonderful. Great. Oh, I like that. That was excellent. So what did you start playing just there at 8?
It's a variation of the 3rd theme we had before.
So he starts layering and everything is like all the parties are conversing. And it's just, I find it so helpful when I'm working on a new piece to try to just get labels on all these different things. because then I feel like I'm part of the, a little bit more part of the compositional process. Like, oh, cool, how he constructed this. And if we believe, there's a kind of an adage that a great composer never writes an unnecessary note. So it's like, well, that means everything on the page is valuable and has to be embraced for real. Anyway, I told you that theme number 2, I had a silly name for it. I'm curious what you might call it. Can we go back to where theme 2 first shows up in the exposition? Do you guys see where that is? I have it at number 3.
Yep.
So let's play it, and then you can see if you can come up with a silly name too. What do you think? It's not like your everyday melody, is it? What does it make you think of?
Like marching garden gnomes. It's like a little like goofy.
I love the specificity. That's fantastic. yeah, that's very close to what I hear too. Marching garden gnomes. Fantastic. So definitely there's a feeling of march in this piece, isn't there? What represents the march? The quarters. Yeah, you guys have been doing that since the very first page.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, whenever that shows up with like a legato kind of context, I almost lose the march too much. It's almost, you're such lyricists, which is a compliment, I think. You have a beautiful sense about line, but maybe that marchiness has to remain so we understand. I call it the Nana theme because it's like full of childlike, silly nah, and nothing changes. You play the same note over and over, in a sense. But when it does have change, it's usually the marching that the soldiers are climbing and descending. So I was going to suggest that you guys make more of that kind of motion. Where's the first time that the march moves upward or downward? Where do you first see it?
The 5th measure of 3.
In which one?
5th measure of 3.
Fifth measure of 3. I see, yes, in that theme. I would totally agree. And where does it first happen in the piece?
Like the 4th measure?
Yeah. There's your first climb. And I thought you guys smoothed that out so much. I was like, oh, how pretty. But I wonder if we have something, let's say, we just talked about the Nazis invading, right? I'm not saying we should turn this music into something terribly nasty, but there's a foreboding quality to me in that repetitive, you use the word repetitive, Stacy, dum, bum, 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 and the fact that it's moving could have a kind of terror to it, if we really expand the possibilities. Could we try that? Could we try the opening? And can you guys bring that sinister element to it? Different. Now you had a kind of a purpose, I felt. Even if you decide you don't like that version of it, there was something uniquely chosen about the way you played it. 2 before 1, the viola has the inverted march. I would try to make sure that we really hear that. Bum, 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 bum. Even though it's not mega forte, I would assert. And that's something that's very cool about chamber music. Like once you decide, oh, we've got these characters, we've got these motifs, we have these themes, then you can individually advocate for them. And that gets very conversational and very fun, right? It becomes like a fast ping pong game in a really great piece. Let's try one other thing. The forte in the beginning, I notice you guys are playing a little bit what I would call classically. You're going pum, 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 right? It sort of has a little bit of heighten in it, and I respect so much the fact that you know how to do that. But what if we go folksy? And we go bum, bim, bum, just a little less sophisticated. Can we try that? What do you think of that?
I think it really brings out the character. And I we actually had a conversation of how to play this part.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared that it would be too messy if we played it in this kind of way.
So you tidied it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I totally understand why.
I think this is so much more like releasing. I don't know.
Okay. Do other people agree? Yeah? That's positive? Okay, that's nice. I was also going to say that you do now, the differences in dynamics that Prokofiev gives could suggest a change in affect, in temperament. So now that you're all swaggery and big and sort of, what do we call it, not too sophisticated in the beginning, maybe bar 5, where I see a mezzo forte, maybe you can embrace that and play it, use your lyricism to sort of show us, but here things are different, and exaggerate that change. Can we try that? Keep that ruggedness in the beginning. Something fun happens. I think, again, there's a little bit of this going on with Prokofiev having fun after 1. What's the weird thing that happens? Are you all using scores to play from? Or, yeah? Or not? You don't have to, but I'm just curious if you know what it is. Who's the rogue? Who goes rogue? Yeah, Anna goes rogue. And you do it with such, what's the word? You're like unabashedly, playing different music. I love it. Dum, bum, bum. And he does that to you more often than just this one time, right? Yeah. So I think it was great that we could hear that come through. It might be nice if the others in the group ever so slightly adjusted. I wouldn't disappear, but maybe just highlight Anna slightly so we can, right? Try not to do too much. You're very good at making space for each other. Okay. Can we try that? Just, we have to stop soon. Could we start at 2 before 1? I just want to say, when Andrew, when you're really observant and you make such space for folks and for themes, I love it. I think you might do too much disappearing. Lost the place. Re, 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 bum, 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 re. Do you know what that is?
That
After
was
two.
before two. So
Actually, before two, and then even when it's in piano, after two.
Mhm.
Remember that it's still, that first theme has the swagger,
Yeah.
right? Yum, ba-dum. So there's energy, not just in the beginning of the ornate part of it, but also into the accent. And an energy, right? We have that kind of swing. I know that I'm supposed to watch the clock. Can I just get these guys to play that one more time? Thanks, Isaac. The thumbs. Let's do number, let's see, before two, 2, 4, 5 bars.
That's a four.
Oh, you don't have the big numbers, I see. To think about, and just make sure that if you've got any sort of stepwise quarters, that you're taking care of that role. And there was one after two, when you da-da-da-dum. I thought it could have been a little bit more obvious just for us to know what you're playing with, for example. But fantastic. Have fun with this really great piece.
Thank you.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Removing to show us. Hi, how are you? Good. Yeah. Are you doing before or Schween? You're doing Schween. Great. Okay. Second limit, and is it the third time or just the second?
There's not that much time.
Yeah.
Maybe just until the transition.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a good seat, right? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ami. I play the cello. I'm from Rye, New York, and I go to school at University of Michigan. And today I'll be playing the second movement of Schumann's cello concerto with Jeanette.
Jeanette, that's fantastic. I know you're jumping in to rescue us and did a beautiful job. Let me grab a cello. And let's talk about, now we're really in the thick of romanticism with Schumann. And I find it a fun conversation to see what we do, what we could do, in this, oh gosh, how do we describe it? I'm thinking of the bow largely. And I learned a few things along the way from some of my teachers about being attentive, especially in music that was written in the Romantic era, to the smallest notes in the phrase and the smallest notes in the bow. And I noticed you handled them beautifully, but there was always a little bit of a sense of long notes getting lots of bow and little notes getting little bits of bow, which on the surface might say, oh, you might think that makes sense, right? The little notes don't need as much, and in some ways they need more attention. So let's see if we can come up with some strategies. But I love the colors you're going for and the singing voice that you bring to this. It's great. Why is singing such a good element to highlight in Schumann's music? I'm going to make a loud noise here. Okay. What do you know about singing in Schumann?
I guess there's more human qualities to the music than singing.
Yeah, I would say so. And what do we know about his love of singing? Do you know anything about
I'm not
his
sure.
songs? Okay. Yeah. Schumann wrote quite a few song cycles. Yeah, Lieder. Yeah, now all that music history is coming back. And I find that interesting, especially when playing something like the fantasy pieces. Right? I think of those as really like three little leads. Taking the German word. Okay, so I'm getting rosin on my fingers so I don't slide off the cello. But so you're starting on the D string, which I do also. And this is going to be, I think, a fun conversation because what's one thing about the bow that I think most of us can agree about? What are some characteristics about the way the bow is put together or designed?
It's definitely heavier at the front.
And much lighter at the tip. So I think, whenever I play Bach, for example, I think, wow, how can I use the bow to best be itself? To play heavier things here and to play lighter things there and to let the natural qualities of the bow come through. In this music, not so much. In this music, I find I'm spending a lot of time trying to balance these two unequal halves so that I'm not in a position where everything I play out here is either lighter or has to be quicker. So I'm thinking actually here I'm going to be saving my bow. Here, little notes. We'll get more voice. Right, so I won't be using equal bow distribution. In other words, I'm going to have a very sort of saving mentality here and a more expansive one. Could we try that? Right in the, yeah. Oh, you're bomb. When my teachers would say, save your bow, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? It means, does it mean stop? Does it mean reduce? What does it mean? Does my note die? What do I do until I'm ready to play with meaning again? I think, what if we said, play with a feeling of weightiness? You see here, I've got my weight sort of really into the string. Now, as I pull, I will add a little bit of leverage. That makes sense. Can we try that just from the B flat ones without the piano? some music benefits from the quality that the bridge brings, which is what? Like, what is the sound? If I don't vibrate, how would you describe bridge sound?
It's dense and
Dense.
a little nasally.
A little nasally, yeah. Yeah, it's a little maybe relentless.
Yeah.
It can be strident, it can be fantastic. These guys in the Prokofiev are going to be using the bridge a lot. So sometimes I might replace being at the bridge with just being heavier and being in the area of the bridge but not at the bridge. So that's a personal choice. But I definitely need weight in order to say, yeah. There's what I think of the singing quality. Here. And now I'm gonna add again. Yeah. Let's try Right. Life's giving challenges here. So we could play La Do Fa Mi So, or we could play La Do Fa Mi So. Right? Feed the littlest among us. So. Yeah. We'll try right there. Beautiful. At the end, you kind of had a little bit of equality of both. I think it allows you this kind of approach to manipulating the bow. Allows us to stress non-harmonic notes, to make dissonances a little more briny, and it lets us show resolution. So where there's harmonic tension and then release, we can actually make the sound describe that for us, which I don't know if you can always do when you're just following the slur, right? Again, it depends on the style period. I think in this music, if we're trying to emulate the voice with all of its layers of intensity, I think this is a fabulous option. How does it feel? Does it feel weird?
No, it feels great.
It feels good. Oh, okay. Wonderful. Yeah, there's some, for people who are interested in messing up their bow distribution, I'm happy to talk more about this, but of course I'm being silly, but there's a thing called sans filet, which is in the Ivan Galamian book, Principles of Playing and Teaching Violin. And he doesn't quite describe it in the same way. I think it's basically a series of exercises with hairpins, getting louder, getting softer, doing all kinds of things within one single bow. And I find that I sort of adapted it for this kind of bow stroke idea, so that I actually move the middle of the bow maybe to here when I play this slow movement, most of the time. Here, to get enough, especially when it comes back later, I want to use more bow, and then I have only that much left. But if you have the weight going, it really does work. I'm noticing that the left hand is a little bit like I'm busy holding two notes, right? What would happen if you got these fingers being a little bit silly, a little bit, loosey goosey? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look at that. You can do it very easily, and even with the extension between 2 and 3, you can do it. Okay. So no excuses.
Yeah.
Let's hear that. Yeah. I noticed that, maybe because I play so much quartet music, I always feel I get 3 people who sit around me and let me know when I'm not doing my ultimate best at anything. And I know the quartet in residence here knows exactly what I'm talking about, and you do too, Erin, because of your years in the Chester. It's great. It's like a mixed blessing, right? Like, and then like, wow, okay, I can learn so much. One of the things I've learned is to be very purposeful in direction. And I can hear that you know where these phrases are going. But because of the slowness of the bow, I don't actually hear the direction. I hear, right? So what if we reversed what we did with the down bows earlier and do it now at the tip, slow bow, and now direction. And slowing the bow into the resolution. Can we try that? Keep the left hand jiggling. That was good. You sort of half did it. You're like, I'll move. But what if you really have faith that this will work? And in this case, I'm going to use the bridge to hold the bow for me because I don't want to have to make a diggy sound. Right? See if I can do this with everybody watching. Here we go. I just wanted a little crescendo also. Yeah, so maybe allow that to happen. Hang out. Leave the bridge. Nice, let's try the next one. That's great. The second time you actually didn't need the bridge because of your bowing. The second one you break, so you don't actually need to hang out at the bridge. And in that case, I wouldn't, because it was like, why be there if you don't have to be? I'm gonna try your fingering. Yeah, so there's a little bit more responsibility for the second finger to actually think back, right, so it doesn't get sharp. If you vibrate this loosely, right, you can easily do that. I think for me, for my hand, 1 and 3 are a happy combination. Yeah. Oh yeah. Is it easier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. One more time with go flow into your arrivals. That's the challenge. Mhm. Yeah, you feel like you're more empowered
Yeah.
to shape the way you want to. Fantastic. Let's talk about a different spot in this movement. Here, where, can you come in more operatically? Right, this is almost like a recitative or something. Yeah. This is the beginning of where you first started?
Sorry.
Anyway, but it's kind of good actually. You play with someone who's just playing a little bit slower than what you have in mind, and just for the moment, it's fine. But that can happen, and then you can't run out of rope. So we can continue a little bit in our last few minutes here. So am I getting a bridgy sound or a different one here? Let's see if I can do this. What kind of sound is that?
It's like a little bridgy.
A little bridgy. Is it? So the tension of the string is a little less obvious, would you say? Okay. Good. So I'm actually thinking of being in this kind of spongy middle part of the string, where it's a little more trampoline-like, and it'll accept the weight I'm giving it. If you play really heavily at the bridge, you can easily break your strings. It's no fun. So, not to mention the sound can become a little overbearing. But I'm putting quite a bit of weight. You can hear that, right? I'm actually trying to climb up a little bit on top of the cello. So I have a bit more body mass in the sound. What would that sound like? Wow. Yeah, did you hear the intensity? Cool. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. Crazy wide vibrato, which is pretty much what we're doing, right? This is not a vibrato for just every day. It's a special musical moment, very dramatic moment, with the corresponding downward kind of weightiness will give you that kind of electric intensity. And so if you use it with care, it's a powerful weapon. But it's very effective. People hear it right away. And I think, we know that Schumann's life was very turbulent, and his writing shows that. The brightness and the darkness and the angst. Yeah. So let's play the passage and see if you can experiment a little bit more with it as you go on. I noticed this actually, sorry. Here. There is a beautiful harmonic moment in there, which maybe you could reflect tonally for us. Yeah, that's good. For my ear, the music is flowing very easily. What if you put in just a bit more rhythmic resistance? Can we try that? Suffer a little bit Beautiful. Wow. The only thing is you had a flow bow for your final note, which will determine how long the note is. Right? You're like, whoops, out of bow, out of note. But and you can hold it. I went to the bridge, but I didn't have too much weight. One more time. bugging you or that you want to da-dum-da-dee-da. What happens if that's angry instead of just loud? What does that sound like? This is at the end of the, yeah. How about mi, la, si, do, la, mi, la. Here, can you shout both of those notes? No, no, right? Yeah. These two. Do you wish you had a longer note?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you do it? You know what to do. Bravo. That's fantastic. I'm just curious, with all our string players in the audience, what stroke did Ami use when she was shouting the two notes? Ba-dum. What was that? How did she do that in one bow? It sounds so angry.
Portato.
Portato, yeah. That's what we call legal portato. Right? Because usually we get bugged by our teachers not to put portato too much. And if the vibrato matches that, that can be pretty terrifying. Yeah. Bravo, Ami. So nice to meet you. Now, hi. How are you? I need your first name? Steven. Sorry. I haven't watched your class the other day. I know. So Dvorak first movement.
Yes, if we could just go through the development.
Okay. Oh, go through the development.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if not, you can stop us after this.
Okay, yeah. No, that would be, that's like the most beautiful melody in the world. Yeah. piece of music?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things I love about the Warnock concerto, other than the fact that it's massive, it's epic work, it's full of incredible stuff we get to play. It's also it's featured on the orchestral excerpts of most of the instruments of the orchestra, because the orchestral writing is so interactive with the cello part. It's a big deal for everybody who plays the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So, seems to me we can talk about a few things,
Yeah.
and you might even have some specific things that you want to talk about. One thing about playing concerto repertoire, it's fantastic, right? To sit in front of an orchestra and to be able to carry this line all the way through. It's one of the great pleasures in life, and it's exhausting, right? There's 3 massive movements, and this one is just so athletic, as well as songful. I noticed, Stephen, that sometimes the fingers on this side of your hand, on the thumb side, were vibrating in a nice, loose, kind of easy to access way, and the fingers on the pinky side, maybe in the same passage, were less loose. So does that ring a bell?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay. How do you practice your vibrato?
Most of the time I'm practicing in like 4ths or 5ths, like shifts.
Motion.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That's good.
And slowly get faster.
I like that. So you do sort of, I call it dusting the fingerboard. Yeah, you do this, and then if you, when you pin it down with some weight, you get that. I think that's a really great approach to the overall kind of karate chop that is our vibrato. I think you could also, if you haven't already tried, do you know Hans Jensen's Cello Mind book?
Yes.
Do you have it?
I don't have it, but I have a lot of excerpts from it. Yes.
Okay, so I don't get any kickbacks, but I do have Hans's permission to talk about his book for sure and to share exercises with people. I recommend it highly. There's one chapter called Harmonics Vibrato, and at first I'm like, what do you mean harmonics vibrato? So, playing in first position. Right now I'm putting my fingers in between the strings, in between A and B, in between D and G, and I'm changing fingers. And when I'm not talking at the same time, I'm actually trying to keep the motion continuous. Another way to do it is just to flatten the fingers on the string. But because there's no real weight involved, or I'm not worried about the contact, my hand is completely relaxed. You want to try that? It's a big hashtag, just warning you. Yeah. It looks very loose. That. I also couldn't believe it the first time I did this exercise that D and F sharp are so far apart in the hand. I was like, whoa, really? But yeah. So maybe just, are you standing in between the strings like I was? Okay. And take your time. It's like change bow when you feel relaxed in the left hand. Very good. And then change to 2 and 1. How does that feel?
It's sort of
Feels very loose. Yeah, it looks and sounds fantastic. So you can do this on every pair of strings. And then there's a version of it where you do, let's see, I'll give you a helpful one, where you can experiment in composition. And again, they're harmonics. We can't actually place the thumb, but I keep mine sort of nearby. I make like a little eyeball shape here. And we played the harmonic series. Whoops, I stopped my vibrato. You hear that nice greasy slide? That's also for me to just stay relaxed. I'm way on the inside, you can see, I'm really, we don't always play that high, thank goodness, but my arm, I'm running out of arm. So this is a good way to practice staying loose, maintaining the karate while extended, which I think we don't often get a chance to do. You want to try that? We can play it together. So I'm still standing on the fingerboard. You too? Okay. Oh, good. You really like that. And then to D. And now to F sharp. So we're shifting after the bow change, right? Yeah, oh, that was a good one. And now C natural. And pay attention to how your left shoulder arm, right. And now let's come down. We're in the rosin. These are very sticky shifts. After the bow. And keep the left hand jiggling. And I like to be as wide as I can be, because that ensures looseness. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's good.
Nice?
Mhm.
Okay, so we did it on one finger. You can do it on all five, and on all strings. And it's just a great way to, actually it's a perfect way to start your practice, right? Like no real notes, nobody gets hurt. But you get to practice the motions that you need. So I'm thinking passages here. I love it if I can keep my vibrato. I almost have to practice like in the Schween concerto, right? And now with each note, this. That I have what's the word? Unrestricted access to the vibrato. You want to try that? You want to play with me once? It's what is it, number 6?
Yes.
Okay. How did it feel? Did you
Yeah,
be able
it's-
to keep? Yeah.
Yeah, I think my pinky is where I struggle.
Okay. The pinky
Yeah.
trying to get
I think
from.
I'm not balanced.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm really glad you said that because there is, I don't have my watch on this, but just feel free to do this, guys, when I need to stop. This I think is important and helpful. If you practice, can we practice on our arm once? Can you practice on your right arm? I'm going to put all my fingers down and vibrate. That's like something I didn't know I could do when I first did this. I was like, oh. And now I'm going to just sort of take off a finger and take off another one. And then it's as I put them back to believe that I had already taken them off. And just to keep it loose with very little pressure. I think you might be squeezing your arm more than I am.
Okay.
Is that possible? I'm just kind of,
Yeah.
it's mostly this. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you get really comfortable with this, like I see people practicing, yay, that's good. Audiences, you're welcome to practice with Robin. So, and you can go from 4 to 2 to 3 to 1. And it's nice because the skin moves with us, right? So we're getting a little extra assistance. But that's how it should feel. And then I would practice that on the instrument with all the fingers down and just keeping it, like get right. Oh, look at you. Yeah. That was beautiful. Right. So that, I think, with all the passage work that you have and all the high solos, you want to have that feeling that the left hand is going to be balanced and not stressed. And then I think just as far as, that we can talk, the bow is its own thing, for sure. You're handling it very well. I think sometimes when the rhythm is complicated, like here,
Yeah.
Yeah, one promotes tension, and the other is like, the cello will resonate, it will
Yes.
respond. And I think that's the number one thing with a big, heavy mega piece like this. You want the instrument to respond easily and immediately, so you can go on into the next thing that you have to play. And I think, that'll be a big tip. I think you can
Yeah, that's great.
practice like this. Last thing I want to say for everybody who's practicing Dvorak, all of these double stops and things, map them. Do you know them? Do you know their sizes? Yeah. Do you know the size of the actual sixths and the size of the shifts? Like, can you play them and say them?
I could the relationship between the two. I don't know. I've done it before. I don't know if I can do the shift.
The shift
going down.
size?
So,
I would practice that in rhythms and get that fast. So you're like half, ho, 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 ho. And your fingers are really paying attention. So, and then the next thing I would do is, practice the actual double stopping. It maybe even reverse them. So it becomes a tritone.
Yeah.
And that is a very memorable handshake. It's so uncomfortable and nasty. You won't forget. Those fingers are really close for the minor sixth. And I would just play around and stay up there till you're happy. Use a drone. And believe it or not, last thing I want to say is use a metronome when you're practicing your shifts. Because it's the timing of the shift that we need to really instill in ourselves for like bulletproof technical control.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot. I just was like blah blah blah.
No,
blah,
that's
blah.
great.
Sorry.
That's great.
You sound beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I enjoy
Appreciate
the
it.
rest of your work with this piece.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. Bravo.